Have you ever stood at the edge of Hyrule and looked out at the vast open landscape and wondered to yourself, what's out there? Can I get there? Of course, you can paraglide all the way out if you have enough stamina. Maybe some of you have even tried, but in most places you'll eventually hit an invisible wall. In others, you'll be met with an everlasting gust of wind that blows in strong enough to keep Link from ever reaching this wall. And in a couple spots, you'll be stopped from progressing any further while climbing up cliff sides along the edges of Hyrule. I just want to see what's out there and up there, don't you? Is that so much to ask? No, it's not. So let's go. What's up, fellow Zelda enthusiasts? Regardless of how these invisible walls box in the entire overworld in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, now that we have Zonai devices, we have all the tools we need to escape the boundaries of Hyrule. But it's still not that simple, because developers knew we'd try to leave, so not only did they put an invisible box around the overworld, they also put a ceiling over top the whole thing and double walled it off in most areas. You can see, for example, out here in the Gerudo Desert where I actually got stuck in between each layer of the wall. Could not uncrouch, could not get out, couldn't even use most of the abilities or runes. First things first, to use the strats I'll be using in this video, specifically ghost stick clipping using auto build cancel slides, you'll need to be playing on version 1.0, 1.1.0, or 1.1.1. It's patched on all other versions. So if that counts you out, then I'm leaving Hyrule so you don't have to. What we're going to need is one shock emitter, one fan, a steering stick, a good supply of hover stones and zonite charges, preferably a good supply of upgraded battery as well, a one-handed weapon, a bow and plenty of arrows, a shield, auto build, and Tulin's Sage Companion. I also highly recommend having as many fairies as you want, cold-resistant clothing or meals, and plenty of stamina food. Let's start with the boundaries that stops you from climbing up a wall. We'll make our way to the Gerudo Highlands, and if you try to climb up from the bottom, you'll not get far. And if you try to clip out from the ground level, you'll fall through the floor and find yourself under the map, which is not what I had in mind when talking about leaving Hyrule, but since I was down here, I took a moment to appreciate how everything on the surface looks like a bunch of new sky islands. Then the depths started loading in and I could see the portal of chasms linking them to the surface, and all the water down here was hilly. I was able to swim up one of these water hills and the animation looks kinda weird. If there's demand for it, I can do a follow-up video to this one exploring everything under the depths and in between the surface and all the out-of-bounds stuff. Let me know in the comments. But to do what I really want to do in this one, I'm gonna need to approach from a much higher altitude, and I have a couple options. I started with a hover bike. Once well above the snowy plateau, I bailed from the bike and pulled the bow and fused a hover stone to my arrow to give myself a platform to stand on. From there, you can fire off another one and pull it in close and use the hover stones to walk to the invisible wall. Once you can't go any further, it's time to try clipping through with the steering stick, and once you do, Link is stuck in the crouched position, which is what happens whenever you clip through the double wall portion of the barrier, and in most cases, Link will automatically be pushed back towards the inbounds area, which is what you see here. But I was still able to stay on top, something not many other people can say they've done. From this perspective, there's nothing you really can see that you couldn't see from just flying around on the hover bike, so it's not that impressive. And I had similar results with the plateau at the southeastern edge of the Gerudo Desert, but I said I wanted to leave Hyrule, not just visit small, hard-to-reach parts of it. I want to cross the gigantic canyon and explore what lies on the other side. It seems for the most part, where the boundaries begin is where the cursor stops along the edges of the map on the pause menu. Although the boundary around Mount Agat that we just talked about is a little bit different, and the way land on the other side of this canyon is shaped is different between the two games. For example, this little ridge right here north of the Hebra region sticks out more and is rounded in Breath of the Wild, but in Tears of the Kingdom, it's flattened out, and where it's been flattened out is exactly where the cursor will not go past. In Breath of the Wild, I was able to use a glitch called BLSS to get through the wind and all the way over there. And once I did, I went right through what looks like land because it's just not able to be touched. That is, until you go through several layers, at which point Link was able to grab on and climb up. But still, even doing this, I hit a barrier and was not able to climb up any higher. In Tears of the Kingdom, I was able to approach using the same hover stone and ghost stick clipping technique, but still, it pushed me out as soon as I clipped in, just the same way that it did in the Gerudo area. And that left me with one more candidate, the area I know it's possible to get into. Across the way of this Grand Canyon of Hyrule, all the way to the west. I started by warping to the shrine on Lightcast Island. This gave me plenty of height to start with. And once I noticed the weird wiggly lines streaming off the edge of the paraglider, I knew that I had reached that gusty wind trying to push Link back towards the overworld. Luckily though, once you're standing on a hoverstone, the wind doesn't push Link off, so you're good to go from there. Again, I used the hoverstones to walk my way towards the invisible barrier, and once I got there, I was able to clip through. And for some reason, this spot only has one wall barricading you from it, so you are able to stay on this side once you make it over. I had finally done it. I left Hyrule. And as soon as I landed, I was greeted by 3 blue choo-choos. When it got dark, multiple keys spawned, along with Stalkoblins, 3 mini taluses, and an islander hawk circling up above. The inclusion of all these enemies and the wildlife leads me to theorize a couple things. Either A, once upon a time this area was going to be used for something and then the idea was scrapped, or B, developers knew that it was possible to get over here, however difficult, and so they put a couple little enemies and stuff around to make it fun for those who were able to get here. While hanging around, I even got a blood moon and all these enemies respawned. I noticed that wherever Link could go no further is where the cursor would stop. I was literally exploring along the edge of the map. And since I couldn't walk Link up the hill, I decided to hop on a hover bike and see if I couldn't get a better perspective and see what was on the other side from way up high. Beyond these hills are even more mountains, and you can even see ocean in the very distant distance. This water surrounds the entire everything, and when you look at it from way up above like this, you can see that it surrounds all the land, making this essentially a gigantic island. This could be the developer's way of keeping players from going too far infinitely, because eventually, while in the water, you're gonna run out of stamina, not to mention you can't use Zonai devices while swimming. And did I mention that I got an autosave out here? I actually got 2. Interestingly though, this area is, according to the game, part of the Hebra Mountain area. Which leads me to wonder, did I actually leave Hyrule? Or am I just exploring in an area that many people haven't? Is everything we see, whether we can reach it or not, part of Hyrule? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the tour. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see the follow-up video where I explore all the out-of-bounds areas of Hyrule, make sure you subscribe to catch it when it comes out, or if it's already out, there should be a little card in the upper right corner of the screen right now. And I'll be back as soon as I can with more content. And until then, stay cool and always keep punching out there. Aloha.